Daeron Targaryen, he's a claimant.
Ah, yes, the pressures of command. Us common folk will never understand the burdens of the crown that consume the flesh and bloodline of King Viserys the First. But his daughter is learning what killed her father, having taken his throne, and she does not like it. Not one bit. The title of House of the Dragon Season 3, Episode 3 is Rhaenyra Triumphant, taken directly from those chapters of Fire and Blood that describe the period of the war after she takes the Iron Throne. But as you'll have learnt watching this episode, there's little joy and triumph at times, and the future isn't going to be any kinder to Rhaenyra. Why do we say that? Well, that's what we'll be discussing in this video. So without further ado, these are our predictions for House of the Dragon Season 3, Episode 4 Explained. Aemond Hightower's chess game begins. At the beginning of Episode 3, Daemon flies to meet the Hightower host encamped in the Reach with Hugh, Ulf, and all three of their dragons. Aemond surrenders his forces to Daemon, presumably because he knows he can't defeat Caraxes, Vermithor, and Silverwing in the field, and swears fealty to Rhaenyra. To secure his surrender, he yields up Alicent Hightower's youngest son Daeron to Rhaenyra, and for a moment, it feels like she has the upper hand. But then we take a closer look at Daeron the Daring's face, and it becomes clear that this is the page that was standing beside Aemond when he received his orders to stand down from Alicent. That's further confirmed by his whittling, and at the end of the episode, it's revealed that not only has Aemond Hightower falsely pledged fealty to Rhaenyra, he's deceived her from the start. The boy is not Daeron, so he's useless to Rhaenyra, and what's worse, Aemond has taken a town that declared for the Blacks. The last development of Episode 3 is a Dragonkeeper showing up to King's Landing to warn Rhaenyra that the Greens now control Tumbleton, and Rhaenyra is left wondering what their plan might be. Well, it looks like we'll get that exact answer either at the beginning of the next episode or early into its run, because the preview for Episode 4 begins with the Hightower army occupying Tumbleton as Rhaenyra questions her small council with regards to his possible motives. When she first heard the news of his treachery, she was willing to fly to Tumbleton and burn it down. But cooler heads seem to have prevailed since. It seems as though her plan is now to wait and understand Aemond's mind before responding to him, and that's probably the first truly queenly thing we've seen her do since she gained her crown. But the question still remains, what is Aemond Hightower's plan? Well, it's actually quite simple. Rhaenyra was too eager to declare Hightower's submission to her court, and now that they've betrayed her, she appears weak and unintelligent in front of the realm. We've seen Aemond talking about his plan in the trailers for this season. He wants to eat away at Rhaenyra's influence bite by bite, and he's shrewd enough to keep Daeron and his dragon close to him with falsehood and clever tricks. Aemond is probably aware of the fact that the crown doesn't have any money to work with, considering a portion of its treasury was reportedly sent to Old Town for safekeeping in the books. She knows it's only a matter of time before the people she claims to have rescued turn on her, and if he can occupy a city that has declared for her with impunity, the longer he stays there, the weaker she appears. Aemond Hightower isn't playing the simplistic version of the Game of Thrones that Rhaenyra seems to enjoy. She wants to resolve everything immediately with brute force and fire and blood. But Aemond knows that quills, ink, and parchment paper are just as powerful as weapons. His entire aim is to draw out Rhaenyra's dragons by splitting her attention between Aemond and Daeron, and when she does that, he'll take out whichever comes for him while the Greens and the Riverlands deal with the rest. Despite being outnumbered, they still have the largest dragon in the world, and if the Blacks split their dragons, then Vhagar becomes a massive threat to them once again. Aemond Hightower's occupation of Tumbleton is both a strategic and personal blow to Rhaenyra's authority, so she'll look to answer it as swiftly as she can. We'll get to that by the end of this video, so stay with us to find out what that might look like. But for now, our prediction is that Aemond Hightower's chess game has begun. His goal is to divide and conquer his enemies, and he's chosen Tumbleton as the board and Daeron's dragon as his queen. He could also have hidden pawns in the capital itself, who would be our first guess as to the people who sprayed Queen of Bastards in King's Landing after Rhaenyra took the throne. But overt and covert subterfuge will eat the foundation out from underneath her feet. Or so Aemond hopes. Whether his hopes survive is what we'll discover next episode. Aegon and Sunfyre reunited? Another important event from Episode 3 will be the long-awaited reunion between King Aegon II and his injured dragon Sunfyre. This isn't a secret anymore, because anyone that watched the Weeks Ahead trailer released after Episode 1 would have noticed that split-second shot of Aegon hugging his dragon's golden scales. The question was when he would reunite with his mount, and it looks like Episode 4 is the answer. After Larys Strong betrayed him to what looks like soldiers from House Staunton of Rook's Rest, Aegon gets the chance to escape thanks to rogue Tyroshi pirates. After leaving the Raven carriage that was his throne for a few days or weeks, Larys urges the king to head to Dragonstone via Duskendale, but Aegon wants to go to Rook's Rest. His stated reason is that Cole has garrisoned the castle and therefore it will be safe haven for him. But the true reason is Sunfyre. A dragon bond is much like a warg bond between a descendant of the firstmen and another animal. Dragon riders can feel their dragons, their pains and pleasures, and most importantly, whether they're still alive. In episode 3, we were told that during recon flights, the Blacks have discovered Sunfyre still dead and decaying in the woods next to Rook's Rest. But if anyone will truly know about the Golden Dragon's odds of survival, it's Aegon, and it looks like he can feel his dragon is not dead, at least not yet. In the preview for episode 4, Aegon and Larys reach Rook's Rest, and we're reminded of the battle where the former was nearly killed by the headless corpse of Meleys the Red Queen. A soldier looks at Aegon and asks him if he's a riverman because he hates rivermen, and that's how we know these are soldiers loyal to the Greens. They've been fighting the Riverland Lords for months in the show's timeline, and with all of them declaring for Rhaenyra, it would be odd for a Black supporter to say something like this. We don't think Aegon will reveal his identity to this garrison, at least not entirely, because he now knows that even his traveling companions and savior isn't to be trusted. But what we will find at Rook's Rest is his strength, because after being reunited with Sunfyre, the dragon bond that binds them together for life will start working on healing the two of them as much as it can. In the books, the dragon bond is a magical link that has made several Targaryen princes and princesses stronger than they previously were. For instance, Aegon the Conqueror's son and heir Aenys was said to be sickly, weak, and close to death in his early days. It was only after the kid was given the hatchling Quicksilver that he became hale and healthy, and grew strong. Aenys' daughter Rhaena was shy and timid and scared until she got her dragon Dreamfire as a hatchling, and then she became far bolder. Dragons and Targaryens have a mutual bond that sustains them and heals them and brings them to their maximum potential, and that's exactly what we predict will happen with Aegon and Sunfyre. They might never fully recover from their burns and injuries, but together they'll be stronger than they were apart from one another. And when they're united, that's probably when they'll heed Larys Strong's advice. By the time Aegon reaches Rook's Rest, word of Rhaenyra taking the capital will have spread across the Crownlands. If Aegon sees that he's lost his seat, he will also observe that Rhaenyra is now undefended. Perhaps Larys already knew this, considering he still has agents in the Red Keep, and that's why he was urging the king to go to Dragonstone. Either way, Aegon and Sunfyre's reunion will be a major turning point for the series, because it will mean that the Greens are now resurgent. With the king back on his dragon and alive and well, the realm will be forced to consider whether to put their weight behind one tyrannical ruler or another. Aegon will be helped by his gender, no doubt, and at the very least, his people can hope for him to be more merciful than his brother. But just how different his mercy will look, they don't know yet, and by the time it's all over, they'll wish they didn't. Where is Aemond? Hugh, Ulf, and Adam fly again. And the last prediction we have for episode 4 is actually twofold, because it answers a question and raises another. In episode 2, Daemon told Ulf and Hugh that once they'd secured the capital, they would return their attention to Vhagar. In episode 3, they were given their reward for aiding Rhaenyra in taking the capital and knighted alongside Adam of Hull. But considering Aemond Hightower's betrayal, is sending the dragon seeds to Harrenhal the best move forward? And episode 4's preview asks another pertinent question. Will the dragon seeds find their target once they go to Harrenhal anyway? That's because the preview shows Criston Cole's contingent reaching Black Heron's halls, and they find it completely empty with the exception of Alice Rivers. Episode 3 itself told us that Aemond had disappeared from the castle after killing Simon Strong's entire household, and while Daemon appears slightly troubled for Alice, he couldn't have imagined in his wildest dreams that she'll now be sheltering the One Eye, because that's what she's doing and why no one can find Aemond. Alice has most likely secreted him to her actual lair and is both healing and bewitching him to become loyal to her. When Cole asks her where Aemond is in the preview and threatens her, she replies with a sarcastic, "Oh my." It appears as though the lack of Aemond is what will motivate Cole to march south to join Ormond's forces or head towards King's Landing, because in Fire and Blood, Aemond and Criston are both at Harrenhal. They have a disagreement which leads to the Butcher's Ball, but if Aemond isn't there, Criston has to make the call, and there's a detachment of Northmen and Rivermen headed to the castle that can help nudge him in the right direction. As for where Alice's hideout could be, we have two possible locations in mind. One is the Mountains of the Moon, because that's a range only wildlings and dragons dare traverse. The other is the Isle of Faces, considering the connections Alice has to the old gods. Either way, Hugh, Ulf, and Adam will most likely be split up next episode, with some going to find Daemon and others going to reply to Aemond Hightower's treachery, which is exactly what the Lord of Oldtown wants, and Rhaenyra has left herself open to further vulnerabilities by not officially legitimizing Corlys' children despite his request, which caused him to call Joff, Luke, and Jace bastards openly and loudly within the Red Keep. At this point in time, the Black Queen is her own worst enemy, and we'll see that coming true next episode through the events we've predicted here. But that's just our opinion. What do you guys think will happen? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more dragon content this summer. We'll see you guys real soon with yet another video, so until then, stay safe and have a great day.